Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 148. We're gonna do what we do every time we meet here at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sundays, and we're gonna have a live show for you guys. So just keep in mind, this is not like a regular show or a regular Shot Science video. If you have, if that's what you're looking for, go check out all of our video library. We got tons of stuff on there, and this is really to help players that want to get kind of a question answered or opinion or just try to hear our topic and get a level up on whatever they're doing. That was not the best explanation of what we do, but hey, that's what you get. So please just understand that if you want to watch those shorter videos, go watch those. But this is for people that want to check out and get their questions answered.
Sure.
So while we're waiting for people to jump online, looks like Sean Truesdale is here already. What's up, Sean? We are going to have a topic that we talk about. And while we're doing that, you guys are going to start sending us your questions. So anything basketball related. It can be on shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, how to work on your athleticism and conditioning, whatever it may be. Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those questions as we possibly can by the end. But get them in early, because by the end it gets crazy and we can't get to everybody. So, and also please go tell your friends and family to check us out. Follow us on all of our social media stuff. We are Shot Science on everything: Google+, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and we're doing different things on different places. So we would love to see you guys there and talk to you guys there. So our topic for today is 2 ways to stop turning the ball over. And these are very common little things that you can do to really limit the amount of times that you give the ball to the other team, which can be a major bummer for you, for your team, and doesn't reflect well for your coach and therefore your playing time.
Yeah, right.
So as kind of like coach's perspective on this stuff, these are 2 very easy, simple things that you can do to shape your game differently to keep the ball in your possession,
Right.
and stay in the good graces of your coach and team.
Right.
So our first one is,
Well, the first one we'll touch on is just telegraphing your passes. That's probably the biggest issue that young players have, is they will take and look at the target or the person they want to throw the basketball to and then make eye contact with them. And by that time, the defense has figured out what you're going to do with the basketball, and so they get a deflection or they step in front of the other person and knock it away. And there's several things that can happen there when you make passes like that. And so the thing that's really important for you is to have a wider vision. Casey and I often talk about soft focus and hard focus. One of the things that when you have a hard focus on a particular person or place or basket or whatever, that means you're just really staring at it, and
it's like tunnel vision.
yeah, it's tunnel vision, and you don't see anything else. And so what happens is
there's no peripheral vision at all. You don't see the things that are going on around.
right. And so what happens is that we telegraph what we're going to do with the basketball. And so when we do that, that leaves that ball open for the defenders to step in, knock it away, or take it away. The other thing that's real important is having the soft vision. And that soft vision means that you're seeing all of it out in front of you. You're not focused on a particular player.
Yeah, it's like kind of you are looking into the middle distance.
Yeah.
There's not, you're not focusing in on one specific thing. Maybe you're looking in a certain direction, but you're taking in information from the entire field of your vision.
Right.
So somebody might be doing something over here, somebody might be doing something over here. Your guy that you're guarding or playing against is going to be in front of you, but you're seeing all of it.
Yeah.
And so if something happens off to the right hand side of you, you're going to know about it. And it's not like you just focus in on what was going on in front of you. And all great players have great court vision.
Oh yeah, there's no question, and that's referred to as peripheral vision, where you can see a whole wide scope. And for most of it, for us, that's about 160 degrees for most of us. Sometimes a little bit more of that.
So why is this important for passing?
Well, important for passing in that you don't have to look right at the person you want to give the ball to, and you can still see them in that soft focus. If I want to throw the ball in the post, and I'm looking to do that and giving it all away, either by looking like I'm going to pass the ball to them or making eye contact with them. If I look away and look to a person maybe at the baseline or at the point, and now I can still put that ball in there without having to look right directly at him.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to sports, but especially basketball in these competitive sports, you want to be a step ahead of your opponent.
Yeah.
And if you are sitting there telling them, you're giving them a cue to exactly what you're doing. It's like in poker or something like that. If you're, giving away your tell, and you have a good hand, and you're letting everybody know about it. And that's what it is with passing too. Is that if you see that open guy, but you're like looking right at them, and everybody in the building knows you're going to pass the ball to them, then the defense has a chance to get there and deflect it or pick off the pass or whatever. So if you can do anything to eliminate them anticipating what you're doing, you're going to be in much better shape. So staring at somebody and throwing them the ball is probably one of the worst things that you can do when it comes to facilitating opportunities for your team.
Right. And so the whole issue here is to be able to use your peripheral vision and still see where people are so you can get them the basketball.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the things that we do are, if you're going to pass the ball this way, then you're going to look that way. So it's just like that. And you already, if you're using your peripheral vision, you already know that your guy is over there and that he's open. I can still see in that direction even though I'm not looking there. So that's what you're going to do with that. Sometimes it's about faking one way and passing the other way. Still, look the other direction.
Yeah.
Sell what you're doing.
In fact, that's one of our keynotes when we're talking to people about passing the basketball is our whole motto is regarding passing is fake a pass to make a pass. And what we do there, let's say that I want to take and throw the ball into the post I'm playing out at the point guard, let's say. What I will do there is if I make a pass fake over to the wing on one side, players move anticipating that pass, and that maybe opens up a passing lane for me where I can get the ball to the person that I want to get to without it being deflected or stolen.
So here is the take home on the first aspect of this, and that is don't give away your hand.
Yeah.
You are a magician. You're not trying to show everybody exactly what you're doing before it happens. So make sure that when you're practicing your passing, that you're not just staring intently at the target that you're passing to.
Yeah.
Start training yourself not to do that.
Yeah.
As every time you pass the ball, look in the other direction and try to make it as natural as possible. Don't make it so that you give it away just because you look a certain way every single time. Make it very natural so that when you pass one way, you kind of look the other way. And that's really great players. They do that all the time, and you can watch them. They're never giving it away with their eyes.
Right.
Okay, so
well, let me go on. There's another thought here is that the kind of pass that we use is really important as well. I went to a basketball game. I'm going to bore you this for 30 seconds.
Hurry.
I went to a basketball game where I watched two girls' teams who I had students on both teams. There was one or two on each team, and watching them play, I couldn't believe how awful the passing was. They never looked away to be able to create a passing lane. And the passes that were thrown inside were those balloon passes where they're so soft, it looked like it was never going to get there. And I would be willing to bet you that both teams had probably 20 or 30 turnovers that had to do with just poor passing. And so crisp passing is really important for you to get the ball in. Now, I have some personal opinions about the kinds of passes you want to use. At the perimeter, I don't like to use bounce passes too much. I like air passes where the ball gets there really quicker. And an air pass, obviously, is where I'm going to pass it directly from my hand to the other person's hand. It doesn't going to hit the floor.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Time out. We're giving way too much information away on this one. But,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is that there are all these very important keys to passing that are important. But our topic for today is we want to make sure that we're limiting the amount of times that you guys are turning the ball over.
Yep.
And one of the things that you can see in really kind of amateur, not so great beginner basketball is just telegraphing the pass. Because even somebody that has never played basketball can understand that you are going to give away where you're throwing the ball if you're looking directly at that place.
Yeah.
So, your grandma could jump out of the stands and come pick it off because it's so obvious what's going on. And that's something that you would always say to us.
Yeah.
But you need to eliminate that, and that is a huge thing that will really make a big difference, even though it doesn't seem like it will.
Yeah, yeah.
And it takes your passing from kind of very amateur to kind of another level of becoming more advanced.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And all of these little tips, I mean, these are things that you learn over time that hopefully we can tell you guys before, you get too deep into playing, and you can kind of start incorporating it early.
Well, the thing that happens to you too, unfortunately, is that if you keep turning the basketball over, then your time on the floor is going to be limited.
And you'll be frustrated too.
And you will be frustrated because you're going to be brought back over to the bench and sit down because your passing is not good, and you turn the ball over. And basketball is all about turnovers and possessions. That's really what the game is all about.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Is these possessions versus turnovers. It can be a make or break for a team.
Absolutely.
If it goes one way or the other just one time.
Yeah.
So really focus in on these little tiny aspects that really make a big difference. And our second one that we're going to give you guys after all the extra bonus on that passing one is dribble economy. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
But dribble economy is basically this idea is that you are not just out there dribbling around, putting together your own personal and one mixtape. You are saving that dribble for when you need to use it, when you're going to the basket, when you're going to take that person off the dribble. Because one of the biggest tools that you have, or weapons that you have against that defender, is having that dribble and not using it quite yet, because you can do so many things before you put the dribble on the floor, which is like the jab step, or taking a cross step, or a shot fake, or a pass fake, or a look fake, or whatever it is. All of these things, and then add into that the long one-on-one, where you can take that long step before the ball is out of your hands. There's just too many reasons not to put the ball on the floor as soon as you grab it. So save that until you are ready to put the ball on the floor and go somewhere, because it is its own weapon to have it.
Yeah.
And the reason that we're talking about it here in terms of turnovers is because if you are just doing all of those things, and even just casually dribbling the ball in front of the defender, but especially if you're doing things like, dribbling the ball between your legs, or just kind of dribbling and going nowhere, you are doing two things. One is that you are creating all of this opportunity for things to go wrong. These are all, you're adding complexity to your situation, where you could dribble off your foot, or that defender could come after you and you could spaz out and kick it out of bounds, or they could pick it off from you, or you don't really have control over the situation like you do when you have it in your hands.
Yep. Very true.
And then kind of the other part of it too is that, well, I maybe I'll say that for later, but it's one of those things where if you are just dribbling around, here's what I was going to say, is that if you are just dribbling around too, you are giving every one of the other defenders the opportunity to recover and pick up you and your man.
Exactly.
So if you're just doing that, you're stagnating the offense, and the defense is stoked because you're not really attacking, you're not doing anything, they don't have to worry about anything, and so you have given them the opportunity. So if instead of that, either attack and save that dribble when you need it, or pass the ball and get the ball reversals going so that they have to recover and you have the step ahead of them.
Right. Okay, two things occur to me that kind of go along with what Casey is talking about there. We actually refer to those situations where we have a player who executes 2 or 3 or 4 dribbles and doesn't get out of a circle more than 4 feet across. That means we call that the dribble dance. And the dribble dance is just an exposure for you to turn the ball over. And more often than not, that's what's going to happen. And that's the and one mixtape he's talking about there. The dribble dance will expose you to have the balls taken away from you.
And hold on, I will just say too, is that we are not hating on the N1 mixtape or street ball stuff, because we love that, and we have tons of friends that are part of that.
Yep.
But when it comes to competitive basketball, and it's not for entertainment purposes necessarily, it's for competition, then it doesn't really have a place in that setting.
Right.
So just so you guys know, we're not hating on anything.
Right. And the next thing, and I'll just end up with this, is that don't give up your dribble before you're really ready to do that. So often I'll see a person and they'll take one dribble to pick it up. And I go, oh, no, no,
You just
no.
gave it up.
You just gave yourself over to the defense when you picked up that dribble. And if you watch really good point guards, they in particular, because they handle the ball so much, you never see them really give up the basketball until they're ready to do that. And maybe that ends in an attack on the basket, or maybe it's a pass to one of the other players, but they keep that dribble alive so they can move and go places. As soon as you drop it and pick it up, you're in trouble.
And it's also a situation, too, where coaches, especially, and probably your teammates as well, if they see a guy that is just dribbling around like that, it either comes down to their ego, where it's all about them and they're going to put on their show, or it's, they're directing everything, which, that's not a good place to be in. Or two, they are just not very intelligent when it comes to basketball, or their basketball IQ isn't as high as it should be.
Exactly.
So those are not that is not the person that you want to be, or the attitudes you want. So just keep that in mind. Dribble economy, your greatest weapon is that first step before you put the dribble down.
Exactly.
Don't waste it. It's worth something. Okay, so any quick comments on that? I think that's pretty good.
I think that's
so those are two huge kind of little switches you can flick that will really take you to the next level when it comes to protecting the basketball, not turning it over, and kind of becoming a more advanced basketball player.
Yeah, true.
Incorporate those things into your practice. Incorporate that into your playing. Okay, so we're going to jump into our topic here, which are not our topic, but into our question and answer stuff. But you always have a question you like to ask first before we do this. So what is it?
Where are all you people from? Tell us where you are, you live, reside, play, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you guys are following us or watching us, you guys are all part of Team Shot Science, and we want to know where you guys are in the world, because we are here in Santa Cruz, California, which is right on the coast of California, and we love to hear from people that are from all over the world, and that you guys are part of the team. So let us know where you're from, and we will shout some of those out, because we'd love to see it. Okay. And also keep sending your questions in so we can have stuff to talk about, and the earlier you get them in, the more able we are to answer them. Looks like we got Hussein Memphis is from Memphis. Hannibal Ramley is from Libya. For Fun 609 is from Barcelona. Awesome. We got some Silent Snake, Quebec, Canada. Edward Batilica is from Romania. Slightly Lean is from Florida. Angela Sanchez is from New York. Awesome. We got a bunch of people from all over. We'll catch some of you guys in a few, but let's get into some of these questions first. Let's see. Sean Truesdale, who's been here since the very beginning, says, how do you keep the ball away from the defender when they are an aggressive player?
Well, one of the things you want to do is keep the ball opposite of that person and use an arm bar. And an arm bar is using the non-dribble hand to hold that person off and don't allow them to get to the basketball. You can't allow that arm to come away from your body. You can't see what I'm doing here, but if you do, then they may call you on that as an offensive foul. But if you use that just to ward that other person off and keep the ball back here on the opposite hip, you can control the basketball and control them as well.
I mean, the very basic idea is to keep you between the ball and the defender.
Exactly.
And if the thought is that if they reach across your body, they're either going to foul you or they're going to get off balance, and you are going to be able to exploit that.
Well, and the other thing is that when they get in, they're aggressive. One of the things they tend to do is crowd you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happens, and this is our byword on all this, and I'll explain what it means after I tell you what it is. They crowd, I go. And what that means is this, is that if the defender gets into your space while you're dribbling or you have the ball in your control, you immediately attack them to the basket. Because what happens is that when you immediately attack them, they don't have time to react to your drive, to your attack. And so that puts them at a disadvantage. And the usual result is they're going to foul you. Okay, so, and I won't bore you with a story that I love to tell, but the idea is when they crowd, you go and go right to the basket with it. Get that dribble out and let's go.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the reason why you want to be able to do everything as a basketball player.
Yeah.
You want to be well-rounded. You want to be able to shoot. You want to be able to attack off the dribble, off the pass. You want
With
to
either hand.
With either hand, because if somebody is an aggressive player and they're trying to exploit your weakness, like let's say you can't shoot the ball,
Right.
they're going to play off of you.
Yeah.
But if they know that you can't put the ball on the floor, they're just going to play off.
They're going to crowd you.
They're going to crowd you. So the thing is that if you are able to attack them and they're crowding you, they're in trouble because they don't have that buffer to step in between and stop you, and you can just go on them. So if they're being overly aggressive, just go on them. And also realize that there's going to be contact in basketball. Accept it. And if you're the offensive player, know that you are probably going to benefit from it more than the defense is, because if they are creating contact, then it's going to be a foul on them.
When they crowd, they don't really have very good position typically, and so if you attack one hip or the other, you're probably going to get a foul call on them.
Yeah, sorry guys about the lighting too. We got some issues going on with the exposure there in the background. So stick with us here. Let's see. This is from Ferrats GAM, who says, "I'm a center. My defense is so good, but I have problems attacking." Well,
What are the problems?
yeah, I mean that's hard to know, but we will just say, as any kind of offensive player, whether it's dribble attacks or post moves or whatever, you need to have several moves that are your signature kind of
This
moves.
is what I do.
Yeah, that you use and know that they will be there, and then off of those moves have counter moves. So as a defense or as a center or a post player, you want to have, like, let's say something like a jump hook to the middle, where you are going to have the ball and you're going to do a power dribble up into a jump hook. Off of that, you want to have a counter move, because they're going to figure out, oh, that guy loves to do that jump hook to the middle. I'm going to get him on the next one. So they're going to overplay it the next time. So now you can use something like the up and under, because it looks like it's going to be that jump hook.
Exactly.
So they're going to overplay. They're going to jump when you start to make it look like the jump hook, and then you got them up in the air. You take a cross step and you lay it in. So you can see those on our channel, but it really comes down to having those attacks and knowing how to use them and be willing to take some contact.
Really, and one of the big issues as a post player is that typically you will have a player that is going to be either alongside of you, high side, low side, or right behind you. And knowing which of those moves makes is really important for you to know. So go to our YouTube channel and you will see our post attacks, and they'll give you the counters and the moves themselves.
Fair to saying, as a follow-up, I create space, but I don't get many points. Well, I mean, are you finishing the shots? Are you getting stopped by the defense? Are you passing? I mean, we don't really know what the situation is, but
and how you create space and where you create space is an important issue that if we don't know that, we really can't help you too much.
Do you have $1 million move and like a 10-cent finish? I mean, you have to make sure that you've got the move and that you finish the ball and focus on that finish. So we don't really know, but there's a lot of things that you can do to help fix that stuff. Miggy Melinda says, "How can I tell if I'm a split finger shooter and a middle or index finger shooter?" Well, I mean, that's a little bit harder if you're not kind of a more experienced basketball player, because you can feel it when you get a little bit older. But with the advent of the iPhone and slow motion cameras and things that are very easily accessible, you could actually use that to find out if you are releasing off certain fingers, which is something that we would recommend. But a lot of it comes down to feel, but you can practice and see how it's coming off too. Are you working on having that nice flop finish? If you're doing anything like pointing or really kind of having too much tension in your wrist, a lot of people are teaching like this really pointy, flicky thing, and we are not fans of that, because you're adding tension to your shooting, and that's adding tension to this delivery system that is supposed to be very much relaxed. And when you are relaxed with your release, typically it's going to come off of these two fingers last. And that's what you want, because you don't want it to come off one finger, because you can see that one point of contact, it is not very stable, even on that middle finger too. But if you add a second point of contact, all of a sudden you have way more stability, and so when you deliver the ball, it's going to be that much more accurate. So really try to figure all that stuff out. Like I said, video, tape yourself or
Yeah.
film yourself on your iPhone or something like that, and see if that gives you a little bit of help there. Let's see. Din V Star says, "How big an arc should you have while shooting?" Depends on where you are on the court,
Well, yeah.
like how far away you are.
Yeah, let's say that you're at the free throw and beyond. An arc of about 45 degrees as it's attacking the basket is really what we're looking at. And some people will say as high as 55 and others 60. We don't buy the 60-degree angle. But the reason that you want to have that nice angle is because it enlarges the basket for you. And it doesn't really change the size of it. The angle of attack to the basket allows the target to get bigger because of the better angle. If the ball is flat when you're shooting it, then you're shooting at a much smaller target. And so you want to have that arc. And so it's usually up around, we teach 45 to 55 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to your own personal experience figuring out what works best.
Yep.
If you are getting the ball rebounding harshly off the front rim or the back rim where it is just like rebounding back kind of with that long amplitude back to you, then you know that your shot is real flat.
With that, and if the ball rings from rim to rim, that indicates a flat arc as well.
Yeah, and so you need to take a lot of time and work on getting that ball up, and it should be going through at a fairly high angle, and you will be getting the swish. I know it's hard to hear like all the degrees on what it should be, 60, 50, whatever, I mean, that's a little bit hard to know, especially if you're not standing back and looking at it. But you can work that stuff out just through kind of start off with the form shooting drill. Get in close and work on getting that little arc that's up and over the rim. And as you step back, I mean, when you get back to about the free throw line, you're going to want the ball to be about at least the bottom or the top of the backboard at its highest point, maybe a little bit higher than that.
Yep, exactly.
And so you got to do that, and also realize that you can have too much arc too, because if you shoot it too high, and I'm talking about extreme arc, then you are effectively shooting a longer shot, which will make it harder for you to be accurate.
Well, not only that, it shortens up your stroke usually. And so we have an arc that looks like this, and we call that's called a bell arc. And we don't want to use that because typically what's going to happen is your shot's going to be short of the basket. But when you get that longer, flatter arc like this, then usually that's much better for you.
Okay, Michael Kalala is asking several questions about being short. So any tips for me? I'm short, looking to make the best of that weakness. Any tips for short people like me? Okay, number one, your approach needs to change and your mentality needs to change where you think that being short is a weakness. Number one, your height is not something that you have any control over, whether you're tall, small, wide, or skinny. It is basically kind of something that is genetic, and it's something that is pretty much predetermined, especially when it comes to your height. It's not something where you could run this number of laps or this number of suicides and that you will grow or shrink. So number one, stop worrying about it.
Yeah. Utilize the things that God has given you.
Number two is that you need to understand that there are definite advantages of being a smaller person, a smaller player. And those things are that you are probably going to be much more agile. You're going to be much more quick and fast. You're going to be able to probably get to places where a lot of those big guys have a hard time getting to. You're going to have much probably better lateral movement just because you have a lower center of gravity. And you can use things against those taller guys or girls if they believe that, they are, a lot of times taller players come into these situations and think, oh, that's a short player. I'm going to dominate that person. Every time they shoot it, I'm going to block it. Use that against them, because if they think they're going to block every one of your shots, all you have to do is give them one shot fake and they're toast. You've already got them in the air. Now just go right by them. So you need to eliminate that thought that you are at a disadvantage because you're smaller. Focus on the advantages, because I can guarantee you players like Muggsy Bogues or Spud Webb or Nate Robinson or Chris Paul or fill in the blank, these guys that are not the height, even Stephen Curry, that are not the height or build of these kind of typical NBA players, they aren't sitting there feeling sorry for themselves because they are not as tall as they had hoped they would be, or as tall as people think that basketball players should be.
Right.
Focus on developing your skills and focus on your advantageous attributes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Devin Stars Den V Stars from Russia. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, that's cool.
Let's see here. Hannibal Ramley's asking about between the legs. I'm guessing about dribbling. I would say go check out our video on dribbling 101 and then all the different dribble attacks. And we talk about the scissor dribble and dribbling between your legs and give you some ideas on how to develop that.
Right.
Let's see. Dominic Bianchi is saying, I missed their first question, I guess. Can't find it. But they're saying... your previous dribbling drills in Dribbling 101 are great and very helpful, including the 5-cross, 3-cross, the 5 and 3. Awesome. Yeah, we think that's a really good one. There was somebody that was asking about how to develop their offhand. That is one of those drills that will help you develop your offhand.
Yep.
And it's basically because you're forcing that hand to do more work than your more dominant hand. And people think that there's some special way that you should approach developing your weaker side or your weaker hand, or that there's some special training method that has to be done. That is so not the case. It is the same training as for your strong dominant hand, but you just have to do it more and probably put more effort and work into it, because it's going to be a little bit wonky trying to get that hand to get up to the point where it matches your dominant hand, because it's not your dominant hand.
A question that I get really regularly, in fact, I just answered one of these an hour ago, is how long does it take me to improve my ball handling skills with my weak hand? That's a great question, because people are afraid of spending the time on that for fear that the other one will become weak. Here's the deal. What you need to do is take and spend 20 to 30 minutes every day over the course of about 2 weeks. You'll be blown away with the progress that you make. The important things for you to remember, though, are to make sure you pound the basketball. When we go out there and we have that little soft puppy type of dribble, what we call that is petting the dog. We don't want to pet the dog. We want to take and pound that thing into the floor so it's harder to time and intercept, and secondly, so it's more responsive to our hands.
Yeah, anytime you practice, it needs to be purposeful, it needs to be diligent, and it needs to be consistent.
Absolutely.
And if you have those elements kind of put together, then you will start to see results. If you're inconsistent or you're more casual than you are purposeful, those are ways that really do not pay off, and you're basically just kind of wasting your time.
Well, there's another element that comes in. People don't like to use their weekend because there's no reward. Okay?
Immediate reward.
No immediate reward. If you're shooting baskets, every time that thing goes through the basket, yeah. But in dribbling or ball handling skills, you don't really have that when you're learning how to do it. But then pretty soon, after you not only learn how to do it, but you learn how to use it, then that's where the reward comes in, when you break somebody down and go by them.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's really like the kind of instant gratification of feedback isn't there for that stuff.
Yeah.
But we can guarantee you that it will pay off if you really put your effort into it.
Yeah, truly.
Let's see here. Edward Batilica is saying, how to beat a good defensive player on a one-on-one situation.
Well, probably the best deal there is to take and go to our videos, and we break that all down for you.
Yeah. So what we tell every player, and I've seen a couple of questions asking about I'm this height and I play this position. What should I do? Blah, blah, blah. And that feeds into this as well, is this. Our position and our mentality, and, after coaching and working with, thousands of players, is that you need to drop all of that stuff and forget about heights and positions, and really focus on becoming an all-around versatile basketball player. And when it comes to your position play and all that, coaches decide that stuff for you guys. You should not be doing that. And the thing is that if you're able to do everything well, then you will be much more valuable player than being a good center or a good small forward or whatever it is, good point guard. Focus on being a great all-around player. Yeah. Those are the ones that every coach wants on their team, because you can put them anywhere. And the thing about you is that you will you could play any position and you could exploit those abilities in those positions.
Right.
Point guards can go into the post and post somebody up, as well as post players can pull their defender out into the perimeter, and if they can shoot, that's great. Right. Then it's harder to defend against that guy, and it's harder to play against them, period.
Yeah.
So if you want to be good at a one-on-one situation against a good defender, you need to be able to do all those things. You need to be able to shoot. You need to be able to attack. You need to be able to play defense on them as well. You need to be able to shoot close in. You need to be able to shoot from further back, from deeper range. You need to be able to attack and pull up. You need to be able to attack and lay up. You need to be able to do rebound. I mean, if you can do all these things, it will be hard for anybody to play against you.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true when it comes down to position play. Drop that stuff.
Yeah.
If you think you're a center, I say erase that from your mind, because
until you have to play,
until the coach
says, okay, you're going to play the post for us. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you can start worrying about it.
Yeah, and even then, you don't put the blinders on and say, okay, all I'm doing is working on post moves from now on, and I'm going to forget about free throws, and I'm going to forget about shooting from out. You don't want to do that, because that will limit you as a player. Big guys that are able to step out and shoot the ball are going to be much harder to defend and play against than guys that just kind of focus on that one small area of what they do. And you will find that as you move up through the different levels of basketball, that you probably won't play the same positions that you started out playing. Because even though that you were a 6 foot tall center when you played, freshman basketball, all of a sudden you move up and you're playing varsity or you're going to college, you probably will not be playing the center position because that, the height typically increases, body size increases. It's not the same thing as you move up through basketball levels. That's why you have players in the NBA where most of those guys probably did play the center or post position while they were kids because, they were taller than everybody, but now they are not taller than the guys they play against. So now they play kind of the classically smaller positions. Okay. Somebody up here was asking, KF Babos was asking, how can I practice shot blocking? Well, shot blocking is hard to practice without the help of somebody else.
Yeah, it really is. Probably understanding more how to block shots is really important. One of the things that kind of is a part of basketball in some situations is to see how hard you can hit the ball and knock it out of bounds, and the big hoorahs and all of that. But hey, listen, the real good ones are trying to get their hand on the ball and merely get a deflection so that the ball can't make it to the basket. And even this far to say that they can recover it possibly. And so that's way more important in shot blocking, in my opinion, is that you block so that they're not able to get the shot, and then that possibly you can recover it.
Yeah, and if you want to practice that, get somebody out there that's shooting repetitively, and you can work on kind of the things we talk about in our How to Block Shots video, where you go straight up and you don't swing at the ball. You try to get a deflection and collect the ball yourself. Create the conditions where you are able to control things and work up to actually getting it to an actual game experience. Yeah. So it's almost like putting it into a laboratory. Have like your mom or your dad come out there and shoot some close shots, and you can work on your timing and things like that. And then you can start to kind of work towards getting it to an actual game situation.
And go take a look at our video on YouTube on shot blocking.
Yeah.
That'll help you a lot.
This one is from some random girl who says, "Hi, I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm a good shooter and ball handler, but when I play in a game often, I don't know what to do with the ball. Can you help me, please?" Okay,
wow. That's
a super hard question to answer because really it comes down to gaining more experience. And also, it says you're a good shooter and a good ball handler. I think that those are really the kind of the things that set you back if you don't have those things. So I think you probably just need to get more experience playing.
Yeah, that's really true. And
and
hopefully
also,
you're playing for a coach who can help direct you in that regard as well, because it seems it's really unlikely for most people, if you have those ball skills, that you don't know how to use them. So Casey's right. It's all about experience, and that may take you a little time to figure that out, but your coach can help you too. Coach, when I'm in this situation, what do you think I should do? When they're doing this to me, what do you think I should do? And get some input from him if he's not, or her, if they're not giving it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's hard to say go get experience, but I mean, go play pickup games, go play some rec league stuff, I guess.
Yeah, something.
But also relax.
Yeah.
Stop being so concerned about thinking that you aren't, that you don't have that ability or you don't have the experience.
Yeah.
You just need to calm down.
One more thing that I would offer you, try to find players who are older and better than you are, because you'll be able to see what they're doing and, oh, I get it now. And they'll begin to build that, what we call an aptitude for the game. An aptitude is really understanding what is going on and why. That's the important part of basketball. Why is this happening? When I do this, why does that happen? Well, it's because I do this. And so you want to analyze what's going on with your game, and you can best do that with older, better players. They'll take you to school a little bit, but you'll find out how to play.
Okay, we're going to lightning around this because we're getting tons of questions and it's hard to get to everybody. Let's see, this one's from James M. Skates, who says, how can I take my shooting and dribbling to a higher level? Well, I mean, we talk about this all the time, and that really comes down to having that diligent, purposeful, consistent practice where you are not just going through the motions. You're doing something for a reason, and you're looking at what's going on and analyzing what the results are and how maybe you need to tweak things. You're doing the 3 pillars of practice, which are working on dialing things in and diligently kind of fixing all the little issues and building from the foundation up. So in terms of shooting, that would be like the form shooting drill. And then the second pillar would be game speed, game intensity work, where you are taking things to kind of the level at what you would see in a game. And that would be like working on shooting off the dribble, shooting off the pass, adding in a defender, and kind of getting it up to speed.
Right.
Then the third pillar is actual game experience and getting used to having the competition and facing that stuff that you worked on in the first 2 pillars, actually kind of have somebody there giving you a hard time about it.
Yeah. The whole thing comes down essentially to practicing and playing on a higher level. Don't be afraid to take on people who are better players than you are, because they will expose some of your weaknesses, and then you'll know what to work on. And so that's all important. And those 3 pillars that Casey's just talking about there are the essential pieces to make all that come together for you.
Okay, this one is from Milena Gorgiev, who says, how do I bring the ball to my forehead and raise my set point? Please help. Number 1, don't put the ball to your forehead. That is not really what you want to do. Hopefully you're talking about like maybe the level of your forehead, but you don't want to bring the ball back to your forehead. You want to really, let's see how we do this. You want to get the ball up and in front of your shooting eye. So like up above your shooting eye. And if you go look at our videos on shooting, you can kind of see what we talk about when it comes to the set point.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that you just have to get into the form shooting drill and drill it over and over and over and over again, consciously looking at how you're doing it.
Exactly.
There is no magic thing that you can do.
No, and this, like any sport, or maybe a lot of things in our life, have to come down with how much time we spend working on those. That's how much we're going to improve, by how much time we effectively use.
Okay, so let's remember that we're doing lightning around here. LaFis Gaming says, how am I supposed to get the ball more when I'm open? Would like to know how to get the ball out of a ball hog's hand sometimes. Okay, number 1, you have no control over that person. You only have control over you, and you have to create the scenario where you are making the case for you getting the ball.
Exactly.
Just standing there, waving your hands, calling for the ball is not enough.
No.
So what you need to do is start moving without the basketball. And we have a whole series on that stuff called Moving Without the Basketball. And I think there's even a playlist of that stuff in the description of this video.
Right.
So go to that and we'll talk about the L cut, the V cut, the backdoor cut, and you will see that doing those things will make the case for you to have the ball. And that's what you can do. And if you do that, that will make people that are ball hogs and are not giving you the ball look foolish. And hopefully your coach will recognize that, which they usually do. And there will be some kind of intervention that will happen.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, what you have to remember too is that they may not give you the ball because you're not open. You may think you're open, but maybe you aren't. And so using those cuts that Casey's talking about will help you create those leads. And it becomes very apparent after a while about when you were open and when you're not. The other thing is this. Where'd it go?
I know, we were talking about...
Oh, I know what it was. It was trust. Maybe that teammate doesn't trust you. He doesn't trust you with a basketball that you're going to make good decisions. And so what you need to work on also is that when you do get the basketball, you make some good decisions. What does that mean? Okay, that means that I'm open, I'm going to take a shot. I'm not open, I take the shot anyway, and he blocks it. Okay, so we have to take and make good decisions, and pretty soon teammates start to trust each other.
Yeah, so... like we said, you are only in control of yourself.
Yeah.
Make the case. Let's see. This one is from Alex Ruiz, who says, when should I look for the steal versus just making the defender take a tough shot? I have long arms and quick feet, but I don't know what kind of mindset is better. I mean, the thing is that if you are trying to steal the ball by poking it out and reaching in on the guy that you're playing defense on or playing defense against, is that you are going to get called for fouls. Yeah. That's really the way it is. Most steals don't come from that.
Right.
Most steals come from stepping into the passing lane and picking off passes.
Yep.
Of course, there are guys that have quick hands and are able to get a few steals by poking the ball out. Happens very few, it happens much less than you actually expect it to.
Exactly.
Most steals come from picked off passes that you anticipate where they're going and you step into the passing lane.
The word that Casey used there that is the key is anticipation. That means that you kind of read the situation. He's been making the same pass over and over, and you're going to step out and take it because you're anticipating or looking ahead to what he may do.
And you're making this. You're trying to make them make this tough shot. I mean, that's great. If you're making them take contested shots, that's that's a good scenario. Sure. You should also be trying not to let them have the basketball, not allow them to drive past you without beating them to the spot. Right. I mean, there is no mindset where you're going for the steal or you're making them take a tough shot. You're basically trying to make life hard on them.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So try not to be the guy that is all handsy and slapping for the ball and doing that stuff. That is a great way to get a foul.
And be sitting on the bench pretty quick.
Yeah. This one is from Reda Benzina, who says, I'm 6'4" guy player from Barcelona. I am a good shooter, but in the game I don't shoot because I'm scared of missing, and my coach is always telling me that I'm a good shooter. What can I do?
Shoot the ball. One of the things that is so important in basketball is having confidence in yourself and your shot. And that confidence only comes by your shooting. You never know whether you're going to be a good shooter or not if you don't shoot the ball. Now, here's the other thing is that we're afraid of missing. Well, don't you think other people miss shots too? Now, if you consistently went 1 for 10 or 1 for 15, then there's something wrong with your shot. But if you go ahead and you have those openings and you take the shots, let's say you went 6 for 10. That's great. That's 60%. Okay? And even if you go 4 for 10, that's 40%. In basketball, most players, they're somewhere between 38 and 45% on most shots, except for those that are right around the basket. Or those are right around the basket where you got post players involved. Usually that percentage is up in the 50s or so. So our whole thing would be this: shoot the ball.
Yeah, here's the thing is that you have to work on the 3 pillars of practice too. So you're working on your diligent shooting where you're dialing everything in from the foundation up. That's great. Yeah. You need to do pillar 2 and 3 where you are working on the game speed, game intensity,
exactly.
Maybe have a defender step in there, and then work on actual game experience and pickup games or AAU games or whatever it is where you are getting that experience.
And no fear of shooting or the results of your shot.
Having confidence in your shooting.
Yeah.
It really comes from believing that your skills are there for the shot mechanics.
Exactly.
So make sure that you are working on that stuff and you can't. I mean, you got to get over it. Is really the thing.
Yeah.
That's hard to hear, but I mean that's the case.
Yeah.
And the other thing that people do is that they let these mistakes linger in their mind, and it poisons the next things that they do. I can tell you for sure that Steph Curry, if he misses a shot, he's not going to be worried about that shot on the next shot that he takes.
No.
So you need to just forget about it. It is not going to help you to just be whining and hurting about that last shot that you miss.
Yeah.
Everybody misses shots. Michael Jordan missed more shots than you will ever take. So forget about it.
Yeah.
No worries. But you have to keep working on becoming better and lifting your skills up as well. Okay, lightning round still. This is from the real _6 God, who says, how to stop a person on fast break, because I struggle with this. Go check out our video called The Break Breaker. That's all we will have to say about it.
Yeah.
Check that out. Let's see here. Edward Batilica says, why players are so good in practice, then in games they're trash. Go watch our video on how good in practice, bad in games, or something like that, or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We talk about that. Comes down to the 3 pillars of practice again. Jerice Hoffman's asking, how do you get better with your left hand? Got to work on it.
You spend time on it. Yeah.
Go check out our video on how to develop your weak hand. Yeah. Let's see here. Michael Sozlowski is asking, best drills for basketball speed and quickness. That's tough because a lot of. Are you talking about actual with the basketball itself, like where you're attacking off the dribble or something like that? Or are you talking about just in general working on your explosiveness and your athleticism? Because those are 2 different things. And, in terms of that, we would say go check out our vertical jump videos, because those really work on athleticism and explosion and things like that, as well as go check out our friends Alan Stein and Drew Hanlon, because they deal with that stuff all the time.
Right.
But you can do stuff like dot drills or ladder drills or jump rope or, there's so many like lateral drills.
And getting into our vertical jump program and using those exercises will really help your speed and explosion as well.
Yeah, and Miners EZZ109 is asking how to increase vertical jump. I have a game on Friday and my coach is telling me to learn dunking. I doubt that. Yeah. Most coaches do not care about dunking. Yeah. And number 2, you will not be able to significantly increase your vertical or any other athletic attribute in a week. No. It just does not happen.
No way. No way.
It's kind of a build over time.
Yeah.
So I would say go check out our vertical jump videos and the vertical jump handbook, and that would be our best advice. Yeah. And also, dunking is not the best thing about basketball. No. It is such a small element of it. Let's see. Felipe Diaz is asking, how can I practice strategic fouling? My coach says it will be a good pressuring tool in games, but I don't want to practice in my teammates. Oh. That's not really anything that I don't think anybody ever practices.
No, I wouldn't think so either. And for what purpose? If somebody needs to be fouled, you foul them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you go into it and just create contact. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're not trying to swing at anybody. Maybe bump them with a little bit of body or wrap up their hands on the shot or something. I don't know. It's
probably not worth spending any time on.
It literally happens so few times in your basketball career where you're going to have to do something like that, that you need to practice that.
Yeah, right.
It's not really a thing.
Right.
I don't think I ever practiced that ever.
No, and I've never coached it either.
I think that I was only told to purposely foul somebody in a way where they're on the perimeter and it's just like reach in on them so we can stop the clock or something like that. If somebody is coming into the paint or something like that, go up and don't be afraid of the contact, but it's not like you're trying to tackle somebody in the air or anything like that.
No.
Let's see. We're going to answer one more question here and then we're out of here. Let's see here. I think we'll just do we'll just do this one. It's from Javi Ruiz, who says, when I shoot alone, I make a lot of shots, but in matches, I can't always grab the ball with the lines and correctly. What can I do?
Okay. First of all,
on the grooves in the basketball.
Yeah, you're talking about getting a hold of the basketball so your fingers are on the seams. In our opinion, that is a waste of time.
Yep.
And I mean that literally, a waste of time, because if you're trying to maneuver your hands to grab a seam, then you're not going to be efficient in your stroke. And
It's one more thing that can go wrong.
yes, and not only that, most basketballs are dimpled, just like this one, and they have those little dimples on the basketball where it's easy for you to grab it wherever and shoot the basketball. I know some people teach that, but we don't, because we don't think that it really is effective, because it takes more time.
You should be able to grab the basketball in any orientation and
be ready
shoot
to
it.
go. Yeah, absolutely.
If you have to flip it into the right position, that's going to take time, and it's also going to be a situation that can go bad because you're
Exactly.
adding more complexity to your shot.
Yep.
A basketball is not like a baseball where the orientation of the seams is going to kind of dictate the flight of the ball.
Exactly.
I mean, there's going to be a very slight minor effect on a basketball, but not enough to change the trajectory or anything like that. It's not like a curveball in baseball. So worrying about the seams is kind of just an extra thing that I think a lot of people probably do it as kind of a shooting cue. Like they know that feeling and they know where it goes, and that's one of those things that they're like, okay, instead of like taking a breath, maybe they find the seams or something like that. But you don't need to do that. No. You can literally shoot it from any orientation, and it will go in the same exact way.
Okay, now, you may have people tell you that that's what you should do, and you may have to listen to those people. This is our opinion after about 6 decades of working with people shooting the basketball.
Well, we don't do that. And, the people that we work with and shoot with, myself and my brothers, I mean, none of us worry about where the seams are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's, if you can eliminate things that are unnecessary, then you should do that, because you're making your shot more efficient and easier to replicate, which is going to increase your accuracy, and which means more points. Yeah. So do that. Yeah. Don't add these things that don't really add anything to your shooting effectiveness.
Exactly.
And really the basis of your question too was, when you're shooting alone, you're making all these shots, but when you get into a game, things don't really work out the way that you had hoped. I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Yeah. So a lot of that comes down to the fact that you're probably practicing not like you would in a game, not the situation, not like you would be in a game.
Right.
So you need to do what we talk about in our video on making practice missing games. That's what it's called. Yeah. Where you are actually doing the 3 pillars of practice. You're working on building from the ground up, the foundation, dialing things in the first pillar. Second pillar, game speed, game intensity work, where you're working on catch and address and shooting off the dribble, adding in a defender, but you're doing it at the speed that an actual game would be, intensity of an actual game. And then the third pillar, which is actual game experience, where you're getting out there using those things that you did in the first 2 pillars and actually making sure that it's there when you need it.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you will start to see a huge difference in your execution. Yeah. If you just go out and casually shoot every time and you can make it, that's great, but that's not how shooting conditions are when you get into a game.
When you get into a basketball game, there's some figures or some things that really affect how you play. Number 1 is the speed of the game. Number 2 is fatigue. Number 3 is there's a defender there probably with you too. And so if you never practice that situation, you get into a game and now you don't know really how to react. So you got to practice those situations.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to answer one more because somebody was worried about the fact that we always miss their question. This is from Bonnie Kintu, says, how to develop a Kobe-like mentality. I mean, here's the thing, is that people like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Stephen Curry, they are running on high confidence. They are working on the fact that they are confident in their skills and their execution. They have put in the work. They know what's going to happen. And they also are not, like we said before, they are playing in the present. They are not worried about all the stuff that happened on the last play. They're not worried about the fact that they missed that shot. They're not worried about the fact that they got beat on defense. They let all that go, and they are motivated to be better and execute better on the next play down.
Exactly.
And they are always improving. They're not letting some perceived mistake or failure limit them or feel bad for themselves. Yeah. I can guarantee you, Stephen Curry, if he misses or if he shoots like, 5 for 10, he's not going to be, sad about the fact that he missed those 5 shots. He's going to get out there and he's going to be like, well, I missed those 5 shots. I'm going to work harder next time. I'm going to work harder in my practice and all that stuff. And that's really kind of the mentality of how you get to that point.
Yeah.
So work on that. And, I think a lot of it is really just letting go of past and future.
Right.
Work in the present. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for us again today, you guys. Thanks so much for all your questions. If you want to talk to us during the week, please reach us on all of our social media stuff where we are Shot Science on everything. We are on Facebook where we're posting stuff every single day all the time. Google+, we're there. Instagram, Snapchat, basically anywhere we are Shot Science, and we would love to see you guys there. So please check us out. If we didn't get to your question today, it's not because we don't like you, it's because we ran out of time. But thank you for all the questions, and please continue telling us where you guys are from. We'd love to see that stuff. Again, we are in California. So we will see you guys next time for another show. And if you have more questions, you can also check out our videos in our Shot Science library too.
Right.
All right? Thanks so
guys.
much, you guys. See you next time.